Alrighty, morning everyone, and welcome back to another beautiful video on this beautiful channel on another beautiful day. In today's video I want to talk about selling gold, selling silver, and why you should think twice about doing so if you're planning on doing so. Not only because it might not be a great idea to actually do that, to sell your gold and silver, but because if you actually really want to, you should maybe think about some other tiny things that are important and that you could maybe do to maybe keep some of it and get a similar result. Might sound a little weird, but I'm gonna explain that, I hope, in the next couple of minutes. Now, as always, this is not a video on how to do something or some sort of financial advice, but rather just my train of thoughts that I try to press into a 10-minute, hopefully long video. So that basically means that that you should take everything that I say with like a little grain of salt, or maybe even a pinch of salt, because I'm just like you. I'm just a person interested in precious metals, and I just kind of post my thoughts about it here online. And if people want to watch it, that's very awesome, and if not, that's totally fine as well. Well, so in general, selling your gold and silver. That is probably something that a lot of people start to think about when it's not going very well with precious metals. Because, statistically speaking, the time when it's not doing so well, when your investments or you're stacking or whatever, investments just in general, like also stocks and other kinds of stuff like that, if the time comes where these things aren't doing so well, as far as, profit goes, right? Something like that. You don't really have profits with gold and silver, but you know what I mean. And that's the time when many people are thinking about selling their stuff. Why is that? Well, because human psychology, basically. I'm not getting into that right now, but it is the case. You can look that up. It's readily available in all kinds of places online. So that is definitely a thing. Now, why is that maybe not the right thing to do? Well, in general, I'm not talking about your specific situation right now, because your specific situation is very specific to you, if you haven't guessed that already. But in general, it's not a great idea to sell your stuff when it's not doing good, because, if you want to sell your stack, you should probably do that when it's worth the most. And right now might not be that time. Even though, if you stacked like fine silver coins and rounds a couple of years back and you want to sell them now, you're probably going to get a very good profit out of it. But at the end of the day, gold and silver are for holding, at least in my opinion, and that's what I do with it. Well, besides, of course, maybe selling some to buy something else in the whole stacking universe, right? Maybe I sell some just like your generic government minted, a little bit of a tongue twister there, silver coins just to buy a larger collectible coin or whatever, or maybe just something different, right? In that range, but not really like I don't really sell stuff out of my stack to buy something outside of it. At least not that is not somehow connected to financial stuff. So, in general, in my opinion, holding your gold and silver is of course better than selling it. But then again, if you had to sell it, which is also a aspect of selling it, because we can't always choose what we do. Sometimes we come into situations arrive that force us to do stuff. For example, now with the costs of all kinds of stuff going up, well, not that much anymore, but could still pick up again, not great, right? And many people are lacking the ability to pay their normal bills, which is very, very unfortunate. And especially over here in Europe, it's not great. Like, things are still going up a lot over here. I know that it's different in some other countries, that's why I said not anymore, but over here in Europe certainly is. Stuff has been going up to all kinds of new highs over a longer period of time. Not where I am right here, but like in general in Europe. So yeah, that's of course a problem. So now, selling your gold and silver, in my opinion, is really the worst option to counter that, because it's something that you use up. It's something that you use up pretty quickly if you haven't been stacking for a long period of time. And, it's not sustainable. Like, if you don't have a massive stack, that is not sustainable. So that is definitely not the direction you should be thinking in. I know that gold and silver technically are especially great for situations like these, because you can liquidate them very quickly and then pay stuff that you have to pay. But in general, if you can't pay for your recurring expenses that just come again every single month. Like how many months are you going to be able to sell parts of your stack until it's just gone? Because things aren't going to get any cheaper anytime soon. Like that's for sure. Like they might stop going up at some point, but they're not going to get any cheaper. So I don't think that selling your stack is thinking in the right direction. I know that it's a very difficult time. I do realize that. And it was a very difficult time for me. I lost my job. I didn't have any income for a long period of time. But, and I still don't make a lot of money. For most of you watching from America, I probably make less than a third of what you're making, because I don't make American minimum wage, not even close to that. So there's that. But things are a lot cheaper here as well. So it's not that bad. But the thing is, right, if you just start selling stuff out of your stack, even though that helps you, of course, and that is exactly what your stack is made for. Your stack is going to run out at some point, unless it's like millions of ounces, which is probably not the case if you're struggling to pay electricity bills and things like that, which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But I think the direction you should probably be thinking in is changing your job, figuring out a way to either make more money with, for example, switching jobs, or just spending less. And I know that sounds stupid because, of course we would have spent less if we could, but really, realistically, there is always something you could spend less on, right? There's always something. Even in my life, there's a lot of stuff, right? And honestly, people, I spend the equivalent of approximately $500 a month for everything. I don't have a car, so I don't have to pay for that, but for everything, for insurance, for my utilities, for food, and all kinds of other stuff like that, everything, right? And in addition, of course, then we have stuff like just your miscellaneous other stuff that come on top of these $500. For example, silver and gold and things like that, right? But just for my recurring expenses every month, I pay $500. Now, even I could cut stuff out of that. I will admit that. Most certainly, I could. I could cut some stuff out of that. I could get down to $400, but I don't want to because it's annoying. But you could, right? I could. And so I'm pretty sure that you could too. It's annoying, I know that. I really understand that because I come from the same place, pretty much, right? And I still don't make a lot of money. I definitely understand that, more than probably anyone else. But I really just don't think that selling your security right now in a situation where you would technically maybe have some other way of getting out of the situation is a good idea, because I don't think that there are going to be great times ahead in the next couple of years. And it might very well be that you will need your stack. So it's not financial advice, but for me personally, I wouldn't. I would find some other way, or at least try my very, 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 very best to find some other way. And to not be like, yeah, okay, I'm just going to take a little bit of an easier road. No, I would definitely try my very best to find some other way, because I don't think that selling your stack because of some electricity bill or whatever is really a good use for it, especially when you look at the next couple of years, which are not going to be nice. And they might very well be way, way, way worse than the place we are at right now. So, but that's just my 2 cents. If you disagree, just go ahead and sell your stack for that kind of stuff. It's your stack and you've got the perfect freedom to do whatever you want with that. It's just my train of thoughts and something that I wanted to get out. Now, the next thing that I think might be a thing for you, if you're struggling to pay some kind of stuff and you have a large stack and you just kind of want to sell some of it, but you don't really want to sell some of your silver. And this is where this ugly fella comes in. This is a bar that I made myself. It's not for sale. Don't be scared. You don't have to buy anything from me. It's not for sale. I made this myself. I made this from junk silver. I get a lot of junk silver because I'm scrapping all kinds of stuff. And this is where I made it from. It's 800 out of 1,000 parts silver, so it's not fine silver, right? It's the stuff that silver cutlery and stuff like that is usually made out of. And that's what it's, mostly contained out of. This is actually made from one singular silver plate that I bought. For spot, actually. For spot for the fine silver that's in there. So for these 800 out of 1,000 parts, I paid spot. So, most of you probably know that getting silver for spot right now is very, 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 very hard. Especially here in Europe, where we don't have any currencies that were made out of silver before, and we can do like coin roller hunting like you people in America can. Of course, silver is also very rare there, but in these coins nowadays. But it's at least possible. It's not possible over here. So I think this is a great opportunity, actually, because many dealers, many bullion dealers, or many recyclers aren't buying scrap silver for spot. So if you maybe know someone that wants to sell their old silverware, silver cutlery, whatever, stuff like that, right? You can just buy that for spot. Just calculate what the spot is, just subtract 20% from the weight of whatever you're buying, and if it's 800 parts silver, and then there you go, you bought silver for spot, and they got a better deal because no one would have paid him that. So I think that's a good thing, right? And then you can melt it into bars. Well, probably not, because buying the kind of equipment for that is expensive. If you can make that yourself, but that takes a lot of time. It's not a great use of your time, but you can, yeah. And you can also keep the cutlery as is, and then you've got silver for spot. And then you can just sell your normal silver, keep the same amount of silver that you already have, and basically just sell off the markup that has built up on these coins. Like these eagles, for example, they are at 90% over spot right now. 90% plus over spot. It's the same thing, right? It's silver. Like, it looks way nicer, of course it does. Like, there's no doubt about that. But if you just want to keep the highest amount of silver, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that necessarily. So I'd say you could give it a try if you want to. If you don't want to, that's totally fine as well. But that's something that you could maybe do. Now, just because some people are probably going to ask, this is not a valid way to make money. Why not? Because it takes a lot of energy nowadays. Energy is expensive. We already talked about that. To melt these bars. And besides that, you then need to sell them to someone. Yeah, of course, you could probably find someone on eBay, but then you have to pay eBay's fees as well on top of that and stuff like that. The bars are probably not going to be very nice, and not a lot of people are going to pay exuberant amounts over spot for it. It's not fine silver, so you would probably need to refine it if you want to sell it. There's all kinds of stuff, right? And then your hourly wage would be terrible, just by the way. And you would also have the risk of you just buying that silver for spot, then processing it and having it there for a couple of months, and just until you sell it, might have dropped. And then you don't have any profit whatsoever. Matter of fact, you might have even lost money. So this is not a valid way to make money if you're just doing it on a small scale, right? And the big scale takes a lot of money to start. So yeah, it's not that, but I think it's a reasonable way to maybe supply your stack with a little bit of more cheap silver. So yeah, I think that's a very cool thing. And if you don't like it, go ahead and not do that. But I think that's pretty much the end of today's video. Remember that your freedom is more important than any commodity. Have a fantastic week, and until next time.